Good evening, everybody. This is the Hawk. As you're aware, I've been on the road for a while. I had to reset up my system, and I had a few technical problems that needed to be resolved, which I did. I realized that on the 16th of this month, there was supposed to be rumors of an attack on many of the whites in South Africa, which never materialized. But this is basically the fear mongering of many of these groups that are in South Africa. It puts fear into people and creates an environment of upheaval. Having said that, tonight I'm going to respond to Ramaphosa's allegations that white people have destroyed the economy of South Africa due to the failed policies of the ANC. His analogy is that white South Africans have denied black people the opportunity to achieve greatness. After 26 years of their rule, I will prove to you tonight that he's lying, and he's using the whites as an excuse for their failed ANC policies and their corruption, communist ideas, and the fact that they are brutalizing the whites in South Africa and the United States. Citizens of the United States need to be aware that we are funding this government in this effort to abuse white people. Now, during this period in the United States, we're having an upheaval about Black Lives Matter. But we must realize that all lives matter. If we want equal rights, there should be no racism. There should be no reference to color anywhere in the world. There should be no black people. There shouldn't be no white people. There should be no colors. We're all human beings. And if you cannot get that straight, then we have nothing to talk about. Because anybody that references color, you're a racist. You're deliberately alienating your certain races and your own race, thus dividing everybody by a color. People are not born racist, they are taught to be racists. It is political power, political influence, to use race to incite people to vote for them, to create this emotional content on hatred. And with the help of the media, they drive the narrative and divide our people. In South Africa, this president was the orchestrator of Boiling the Frog, the document from 1993, which states that they were going to boil the white people in a pot, like you would boil a frog, that they didn't know they were dying. In South Africa today, there is 1.2 million white people in squatter camps. That's almost a third of the white population in South Africa. If Mr. Ramaphosa feels that he can justify what he is saying in this video, I call him an absolute and utter liar. His whole point is racism. His government has placed apartheid in the forefront of this world yet again. At the end of my video, and in the description of this video, you can find a link to a petition to bring sanctions against this racist, communist, corrupt government to stop what is happening in South Africa. This government only sees one race, and that's the black race. And that has to stop. If we want equal rights in this world, you cannot reference one race. The minorities in this country of South Africa are being marginalized, actually being pushed out. The historical narrative is flawed, and when we challenge them to come to international court, they refuse because they will fail in this attempt to prove that they were there before anybody. They are not the rightful leaders of their country, and they're not the rightful owners of their country. They're invaders. The whites came in the 1400s. No black tribes were there until the 1800s. The indigenous people that were there were the Khoisan or the Sand people. They are the rightful owners of Africa, Southern Africa. Not the black tribes, not the white people. They do not want what's going on now either. They are the rightful owners of that land. They are the ones that should make the decisions of where things go. Here's the video. This racist president, Cyril Ramaphosa of South Africa, who has lied to the international communities about the farm murders, the rapes, and the 60 murders a day in their country.
BEE, Black Economic Empowerment, the broad-based Black Economic Empowerment policy thrust of this government, if anything, needs to be enhanced.
What this president is basically saying that all the whites in South Africa have no rights. He just basically started apartheid yet again. 26 years they've had these policies in place. They didn't work. It destroyed the economy. Now he's trying to force it on the limited number of whites that are left based on the lies that they created. Cyril Ramaphosa is a billionaire. How did he get to this point? He was given money by very, very rich people, whites. He now knows that he cannot keep his ANC government in power unless he finds an excuse, just like Hitler did with the Jews. This policy is nothing but apartheid.
We need to ensure that Black people who were forever under apartheid rule and colonial rule excluded from playing an important role in the economy of their own country.
Let me stop him there and explain to everybody. In 1948, South Africa became a republic. Apartheid was introduced by the nationalist government, and in 1990 they removed apartheid. In fact, many of the South Africans, including myself, voted almost 90% to remove any racism in South Africa. In 1994, there was free and fair elections, and the ANC came to power. They placed BEE laws on the books to help with black people becoming better and equalizing the situation in South Africa. The problem they have, they went too far. Because the politicians in power didn't create jobs for black people, they put the money in their pockets. The fact is, 100% of the ANC members in the South African government are corrupt to the hilt, and thus committed treason against and crimes against their own people. He cannot justify apartheid anymore after 26 years. You have to look at the history of what is going on. Since 1990, they cannot justify apartheid. That is 30 years. Most of the people today that were in apartheid are in their 60s and late 50s like myself. And much, much older. His narrative is incorrect.
Are given their rightful position in playing an important role in the economy of their country.
I would like to stop him there again. An important role in their country. Mr. Ramaphosa, do you realize that every single child born in South Africa since 1990 never grew up in apartheid? So what you are saying is due to the fact of the color of their skin. They cannot participate in the enhancement of their own country, the land of their birth, because of the color of their skin. And the people that are in their late 50s and 60s and older must now participate in South Africa. Your narrative is nothing but pure racism and excuse for your failed policies of the ANC.
And because they were deliberately excluded through laws, through policies, through conventions and practices, we've got to ensure that we implement the provisions of our Constitution. And the Constitution says in order for us to attain equality, we've got to have legislative measures that will enable us to do precisely that.
And here again, I will reiterate what I was saying before. They've had these laws on the books for 26 years. Why now, when they are losing ground, the economy of South Africa is collapsing, they are still blaming white people for their failed policies? And I find it ironic that during the COVID-19, that this same president wants to continue to keep the economy closed so the entire economy of South Africa fails. It makes no sense. What is he trying to do? Break the economy to nothing? It would never restart. Just like they did with Eskom, switching off power and blaming it on emergency systems, they could never bring it back up again because of the demand on load. This will be the exact same case with the economy of South Africa. If they continue down this road, it will collapse to absolutely nothing left. And then the people will turn on the ANC and they will blame them. Many of the educated black people in South Africa are starting to understand the excuse is running thin. It is not the white people's fault. They have not been in power for 26 years. The ANC government are corrupt to the core. They are doing nothing for the people. Look at these pictures. These are schools in South Africa for black children, not white children, that have been marginalized, who have been left out there because Mr. Minister wants to drive in a Mercedes Benz and wear Armani suits, sit in Parliament falling asleep and picking their noses and putting 100,000 rand in their pockets every month. This is the reason why South Africa is collapsing.
So BEE is here to stay. We must bring Black people into the economy of our country. Otherwise, we will continue having an economy that continues to misfire.
An economy that continues to misfire. An economy run by a corrupt government that has been in power for 26 years. May he forget the billions of rands that were stolen by Zuma, the billions of rands stolen by the Guptas, the absolute collapse of the SABC, the absolute collapse of Eskom, the absolute collapse of the South African Airlines. All the funds in the reserves have gone. There is no restart. You're a failed state. 26 years of a nightmare where a terrorist organization called the African National Congress, in cahoots with the South African Communist Party and the trade unions, have destroyed the economy of South Africa because of corruption. Nothing more than crime. This government is criminal. Mr. Ramaphosa, you're a criminal. And your entire policies and your entire government are criminals. Everybody knows it. And you will not admit it. But sooner or later, there will be nothing left. And you can't blame the whites anymore. You are responsible for this problem.
You cannot have an economic situation where the majority of the people are excluded, they don't have ownership, they don't have control, they don't even have management. It should be a shame on those who have always held power and ownership, that we still have a situation like this.
To own a business in South Africa, you have to have a 51% black partner in your business to run your business in South Africa. Or you are denied access to government contracts and many, many other things. In other words, you have to place a token person in your business because of the color of your skin. And that's been going on for 26 years. Now, ownership can be achieved for all black people in South Africa as per properties and business startups or whatever, if the government wasn't so corrupt and put the money in their pockets and loaned black people money to start businesses and got the economy running instead of coming up with communist policies of socialism, nationalization, and not allowing people to be able to achieve greatness. You cannot start something with nothing. You go to the bank, you have to sell your soul. Now, if the government was going to put their money where their mouth is, they should have had a national bank, government bank, that loaned businessmen who are trying to do startups minimum percentage loans and created an economy with small business. They never did that. They relied on the white people, and they are doing it again. They relied on the white people to provide the jobs and then blamed them for the fact that the economy was collapsing. You cannot tie people's hands and feet together and expect them to achieve anything. This is a failed idea. And it will always be a failed idea. It will not work.
Affirmative action as well is the policy of the government, and it will continue.
South Africa is the only country in the world where the majority have affirmative action against the minorities. Only country in the world. because of the color of your skin. This is pure racism. Pure and utter racism. You explain to me the children that were born from 1990 and to present day, the fact that they never grew up in an apartheid regime, but in fact they did. And it wasn't the nationalist government, it was the ANC government. Because if you want equal rights in this world, there is no such thing as color. Every child born in South Africa is an African, is a South African. Every Indian child, every colored child, every Asian child, every black child, and every white child, every Khoisan child, every tribal child is an African. They were born in Africa. They weren't born in Europe. I was born in Africa. I knew nothing about Europe. Not till I was in my late 30s and I went to Europe to see what it was all about. I'm not a European, I'm an African. I grew up in Africa, as did all those white people. And every child born today in Africa is an African irrespective of color. Mr. Ramaphosa, you're a racist. You're a racist and a liar, and you refuse to accept blame for your failed policies.
We have extended a hand that on land reform, our constitutional committee, the parliamentary committee, must proceed to finalize the work that they are doing. We want to see that committee reappointed so that it finalizes. And once it finalizes that, we will all be very clear on the issue of the expropriation of land without compensation. We will also be clear on how it is going to be done and how it is going to be effected.
As I spoke before about the banks in South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa refuses to accept the fact, or doesn't want to tell the people the fact, that land titles are owned by banks, international banks, lending groups, investment groups. They own the land. Farmers, landowners buy the land. Now, many of the people that are in South Africa think it's okay to just go and squat on the land. Grab the land, put a shack up, and this is his pieces of land. But he doesn't have a title. He doesn't own the property. At any time, the government could come there and bulldoze that whole lot down. They're lying to the people. And to all the people, black people in South Africa, don't be sucked into lies. This government is lying to you. They own 75% of all the land that is left over in South Africa is in the hands of the ANC government. Now, these farmers that you are attacking, because of this racist policies of South Africa and this government, they are providing food for your people. Not your people, but your countrymen. They are your countrymen. Now you forget. It was the farmers that fought the British off from taking over your entire country. If it wasn't for those people, you wouldn't be controlled by anybody but the British.
I think as South Africans, we must accept that we've got to change. Because if we do not do so, it is those who have been excluded from the economy of our country who are going to respond. And then all could be lost. And those who say everything is fine and hunky-dory are actually living in a world that, is very strange to the majority of our people. Our people are yearning for inclusion. They are yearning for participating in the economy of their country. They're yearning to have the skills that they were denied in the past.
Let me begin by saying that in the 26 years that the ANC has been in power, how many trade schools have they built? In fact, approximately 350 schools during COVID-19 have been burnt down. So what is he talking about? And they were burnt down by black people. Raided, stolen, looted completely and burnt down. This government didn't do anything for the people in 26 years. They have not built any trade schools. They have not built any nursing schools. They have put the money in their pocket. They have failed the people of South Africa. And they failed the majority of the people in South Africa, the black people. They left them to rot for 26 years. Most people are still stuck in the townships with terrible electricity, terrible running water, no sanitation, many problems. Why? It is easy to rather buy a Mercedes-Benz than to build a road or build a school or build a clinic to better the lives of the people of South Africa. No, what do? They just blame white people. This has nothing to do with white people. This has to do with the failed policies of the ANC. Now to grab land, just like they did in Zimbabwe, where people are selling rats on the side of the street for meat, and destroy your economy because of racism, is absolutely stupid. Now, if the government wants to build something to better the lives of South Africans, they should have built trade schools to teach people a skill. Most of the young blacks in South Africa want to leave the country. There is no hope for them there. There is no opportunities. The government has limited them to everything that there is possible because of one word: corruption. The ANC government is corrupt. There is no excuse for it. It has got nothing to do with white people. And if you cannot help white people create work, then you cannot help black people to create jobs and businesses. You have failed every single person in South Africa. It has nothing to do with the race. It has nothing to do with apartheid. It has everything to do with a government that did not know what they were doing. They were a terrorist organization that are being held blackmail by the South African Communist Party and the trade unions, who don't care a damn about anything but money. And the politicians that are sitting in parliament don't care about the people either. They would rather drink their drink, smoke their smoke, sleep in parliament and get 100,000 rand a month than actually do something for the people of South Africa. And that is build schools, help small businesses, create small businesses to create employment. They have not dealt with the crime situation because nobody respects the law in South Africa because all the politicians are corrupt. They have not arrested Jacob Zuma or seized his properties. They have done nothing.
They are yearning to be owners. They are yearning to be managers of the economy. They are yearning to participate. And if there ever was a time for us to give them that opportunity, this is the opportunity. What I would have wanted to hear from Honorable Groenewald is for Honorable Groenewald and his ilk coming forward and saying, like many others are doing, and saying, we realize that we've got a historic problem. Apartheid excluded the majority of Black South Africans from land ownership, from ownership in the economy. This is what we think we should do.
I'm going to stop this video now because it's getting old. Mr. Ramaphosa, how many solutions do you need from everybody that has told you that your policies have failed? The United States government told you your policies are failing. They're going to fail. Your land reform is an erroneous idea that needs to be rethought, and it's going to create a disaster in South Africa. You told the United States to mind their own business. The economists in the United States told you you will fail in this effort, and still you will not listen. You will not listen to anybody because you've already made up your mind. Here's another thing, people. The United States government has given the South African government $9.4 billion since the 90s until present in aid. During the COVID-19, they gave them a further couple of $1 million. Where is this money? All this government has done is squander the money. I am calling on all the United States taxpayers to sign my petition for sanctions against this apartheid government, this racist, communist, corrupt government, and to place a new government, a multiracial government that is based on free market system, direct banking, which will assist in the uplifting of every citizen in South Africa. And every citizen in South Africa, irrespective of color, has an equal right to live as a human being, not based on the color of his skin, because all lives matter. I disagree with Cyril Ramaphosa with the fact that apartheid made people's lives better. I grew up in apartheid. We lived like poor people just like the next guy. We were no much better than any black person. We didn't have luxuries. We didn't have new cars. We were stuck in a system we didn't even know was there. We didn't understand it. Nobody did. It was forced on us. Just like communism was forced on other peoples in the USSR. Mr. Ramaphosa, your government has failed the people of South Africa. You have not created a business-like economy that would thrive. That country has so much potential to be the best country in the whole of Southern Africa. You failed the people of South Africa. You are lying to the people of South Africa. You need to disband your government and allow the real people of South Africa to rule, not your criminal government. You have not arrested any one of your parliamentary people for corruption because you are just as corrupt as they are. This is The Hawk. Please subscribe to my channel. Please sign this petition for full-blown economic sanctions in the description below to stop this ANC government from further destroying another African country because of corruption and racism. We need to stop this, and the United States must stop aiding and abetting and emboldening this racist government any further. This is The Hawk. I wish you all, South Africans, black and white, a better future than what you see right now. And as for COVID-19, the South African government is deliberately holding you at home to destroy this economy so that they can stay in power for longer. I'm out of here. You take care out there and stop killing one another.